Game Theory Class 9 Video 1. In this video I'm going to tell you a story. The story is called The Surprise Quiz. So the reason why I'm going to mention this story is because in previous videos we've been talking about the IESDS algorithm, or the Iterative Elimination of Strictly Dominated Strategies algorithm. And this is an algorithm which takes a game and it eliminates impossible outcomes. So it cuts down the size of a game by iteratively eliminating outcomes which no rational player would ever play. And this sort of logic, the logic behind the IESDS algorithm, can be applied to other situations. But sometimes when you apply the same logic, it leads to surprising or counterintuitive outcomes. So exactly what logic am I talking about? Well, you could sort of sum it up by saying the first step is to identify an impossible outcome. So for example, in the IESDS case, this would be where you identify a strictly dominated strategy. That's like an impossible situation. That's an impossible outcome because no rational person would ever play a strictly dominated strategy. The second step is you eliminate it. The third step is to reevaluate the situation. Okay, so I mean, by reevaluate, I mean look now to see if there's any new impossible outcomes. Like after you've eliminated the first impossible outcome, is there now a new impossible outcome which you could then eliminate? And then the fourth step is just repeat. Okay, so this is the logic, and it seems like sound logic. I mean, it is sound logic. Each one of these things seems like a perfectly logical thing to do. But it's just somewhat surprising that sometimes applying this logic leads to counterintuitive outcomes. So let's get down to the story. What's the story? It's called The Surprise Quiz. And it goes like this. So you're enrolled in a class, and your class meets every day, every weekday, at 9 a.m. Okay, and then the teacher tells you on Friday that there's going to be a surprise quiz next week. So next week there's going to be a surprise quiz. Okay, and emphasis on the word surprise. The school has this old rule, like it's a school rule, where if the quiz isn't actually a surprise, then the students don't have to take it. So if the quiz isn't a genuine surprise, then you don't have to take it. Okay, and the teacher tells you this Friday at the end of class. So you've got the weekend to think about this. Okay, well, you think about it and you sort of come to the conclusion that the only way of avoiding failing this quiz is if you can prove to your teacher that it's actually impossible to give a genuine surprise quiz. Okay, and you argue as follows. So you're trying to prove that it's impossible to give a surprise quiz next week. Like you would never be surprised. So how do you do that? Well, you sort of tick off all the days. Like it's Friday now, there's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay? And the teacher has told you that on one of these days there's going to be a surprise quiz. Well, the first thing you do is you say, it can't be Friday. Because if next week comes around and it's Thursday evening and you still haven't taken the quiz, then the only possible day left would be Friday. But then you know that, so it wouldn't be a surprise, right? If it's Thursday evening and you still haven't done the quiz, and you know that the quiz is going to happen that week, then it has to be that the quiz will happen on Friday, which wouldn't be a surprise. So Friday, it can never happen on a Friday. Okay? Well, now you reevaluate the situation and you conclude that it can't be Thursday either. Because Thursday is now the last possible day on which the quiz could happen. Because you've just reasoned, you've just deduced that it can't be Friday, right? So then the last possible day on which the quiz could happen is Thursday. But again, if it's Wednesday evening and you still haven't done the quiz, then the only possible option would be for it to be on Thursday. But then that wouldn't be a surprise. So it's not on Thursday either. Well, you just continue in this sort of pattern. Now you say it can't be Wednesday. And the argument is exactly the same. Wednesday is the new latest day, right? It's not Friday, it's not Thursday. Wednesday is the last possible day. And if you get to Tuesday evening without taking the quiz, then you would conclude that it has to be Wednesday, which would mean it's not a surprise. So it's not Wednesday either. And you can do the same for Tuesday and you can do the same for Monday. So it's impossible. So it can't be Wednesday, Tuesday, or Monday. Okay? So you've just proven it is impossible to give a surprise quiz. And then you draw a square because that's the end of the proof. And you try and convince your teacher that there's not even a point of trying because it's impossible to give a surprise quiz. So that's the end of this story, right? All I did was I applied the same logic from the IESTS to this notion of a surprise quiz, and you can conclude that it's actually impossible to give a surprise quiz. I think the most surprising and strange thing about this whole story is, like, if the teacher gave a quiz like on Wednesday, say, you would be surprised. Right? And this is sort of a paradox because, like, all of this reasoning you did up here, it's all perfectly mathematical sound. And you just proved that it's impossible to give a surprise quiz. And yet, with that in mind, if you go to class on Wednesday and the teacher hands you a quiz, it would be a big surprise. Right? So there's this sort of paradox going on. But that these sort of things happen. Okay? So this is the surprise quiz story. That's the end of this video.